We're following the very high-stakes U.S. Supreme Court hearing right now on emergency abortion care. Only moments ago, the justices pressed an attorney for the Idaho state's very controversial and near-total ban position. Now, that law prevents doctors from performing abortions for pregnant women having a non-life-threatening medical emergency like organ failure or infertility.
So, Dr. Amanda Weinstein, with all of the attention that is being paid right now to the Supreme Court's hearing over presidential immunity, I think this one is tragically flying below the radar. This case about an Idaho near total abortion ban that would limit even emergency abortion care that women could receive. And this is having repercussions around the country. Can you give us the overview of what's at stake?
Yeah, I mean, this is at the Supreme Court because Idaho made an abortion ban that is so extreme, it is contradictory to what hospitals are actually required to do by federal law. So it is so extreme in that it is saying the only way that you can perform an abortion is basically if we have decided the woman is about to die, which means if she's not about to die yet, we can't do an abortion. So if she might lose an organ, if she might be on the verge of hemorrhaging to death, if she might be on the verge, if she could have sepsis and then die of that, but she's not close enough to death yet, we don't have to do anything, which goes against federal emergency care laws that basically say if someone goes to a hospital and needs emergency care, then that ER should provide the care that that person needs to stabilize them. There's no requirement that the person has to be on their deathbed. There is a requirement that care should be served. And the Idaho Abortion Ban, which you might think, oh, it's Idaho, right? I don't live in Idaho. Does this really affect me? This very well could affect everyone. If the Supreme Court says, you know what, it's okay for any state to essentially supersede this law saying emergency rooms have to give care to people and say, you know what, emergency rooms, you don't have to give care to people. You can wait till they're on their deathbed. They can lose organs. And that's kind of the line we're going to draw.
This is having a chilling effect already in hospitals, specifically emergency rooms across the country. This is from an AP report. Pregnant patients have, quote, become radioactive to emergency departments in states with extreme abortion restrictions, says Sarah Rosenbaum, a George Washington University health law and policy professor. They are so scared of a pregnant patient that the emergency medicine staff won't even look. They just want these people gone. Can you imagine being in the position of a pregnant woman seeking emergency medical care and this new environment of fear around treating pregnant women is in some cases forcing them to miscarry in the bathroom? That happened in Texas. I just can't imagine in 2024 we're at this point.
Yeah. So it means that we have something that is very common. Having a baby, even though fertility rates have gone down, having a baby is a very common healthcare concern of most women in this country. And the fact that people just won't touch that women are just left on their own to, as you said, have a miscarriage in the bathroom of a hospital because people won't treat her, right? This is leaving many women without care to something that is very, very common. It is just denying women of the right to healthcare.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Between now and the election, I'm going to highlight a handful of critical pro-democracy efforts that I want you to know about. The first of these is Veterans for Responsible Leadership, or VFRL. It's an organization on the front lines of the battle to protect our democratic safeguards and to hold accountable those who would dismantle them. VFRL's number one priority between now and November is preventing Donald Trump from being reelected. As an organization led by veterans, VFRL is bringing to bear all that experience and credibility to persuade other veterans and military family members that a vote for Donald Trump is a vote that undermines the very Constitution that those in the military swore to uphold. Here's where VFRL needs your help. If you are a veteran or a family member of one, and if you're looking for ways to make meaningful contributions between now and November, go to VFRL.org. The team there is working on a number of critical initiatives that will make a difference in the coming presidential election. But they need more veteran voices and more volunteers. If you're up for it, go to vfrl.org and sign up. I'll have more updates in the coming months on what they have planned, but trust me, it'll be worth your time. Thanks. This episode of Burn the Boats is brought to you by Manuka Honey. This miracle of nature just fell into my lap at the perfect time. It's a rare super honey that is 100% natural and has some unique properties. Manuka makes Manuka Honey, a single origin honey that comes from New Zealand, where the bees only feed on the nectar of the Manuka tea tree, making honey that is pure, rich, complex, with a creamier texture that is on a completely different level from the normal honey you find at the supermarket. You can use it as you would any other honey, but what puts the super in Manuka Honey is it's rich in oxidants and prebiotics, 3 times more compared to regular honey. On top of that, it contains an antibacterial compound called MGO that can be found exclusively in Manuka Honey. The bottom line is that these nutrients support your optimal immune and digestive health, and it's delicious. Manuka sent me a jar and squeeze bottle of their MGO 850 Plus Manuka Honey, their best-selling honey. The 850 Plus honey has a creamy caramel texture that is unlike anything I've ever tried. Just grab a spoonful out of the jar and I put it in my favorite beverage, or I squeeze some out on toast or oatmeal. It's delicious. Manuka is savory, delicious, and truly the best honey I've had. If you head to manuka.com/boats, you can get $25 off their starter kit, which comes with the MGO 850 Plus Manuka Honey, a free travel pack of honey sticks, a free wooden spoon, and also a free guidebook. It's the perfect gift for a loved one, no matter the season. I love the jar and squeeze bottle, but the extra pack of compostable honey sticks is perfect for whenever you're on the go. You can bring them with you when you're traveling or need a quick snack running errands, and they are the perfect energy boost if you're out for a run or at the gym, especially this time of year. That's manukora.com/boats to get $25 off your starter kit. This is just the ultimate honey. Indulge and try some honey with superpowers from Manuka. It seems to be the whole point of this effort. It's not actually protecting babies. That's been the mantra of the pro-life movement for decades. It's not protecting families. It's not protecting women. It just seems to be all about control.
Absolutely. Because what we're talking about here, when women need this care, when women die, the baby dies with them. We are not talking about a woman who is in the process of delivering a baby. We are talking about women who are miscarrying or facing very dire health circumstances where if they die, the baby will also die. So by having women die or miscarry in a bathroom, you're not protecting any fetus at all. It never was about protecting a fetus. It never was about protecting that life. It is absolutely about controlling what a woman does or doesn't do and making women make some kind of sacrifice for some crazy interpretation of a religious ideal.
Yeah, I would love your thoughts on how that religious ideal has become so twisted and so perverted, because I know people of good faith and goodwill in the pro-life community who want their movement to be about protecting the unborn, in their words. But the entire movement seems to have been co-opted by this weird power-hungry segment, maybe the dominant segment now, that doesn't, it turns out, seem to care about life. When you look at the Alabama IVF decision, when you look at what's happening in Idaho, when you look at what we've seen in Ohio with 10-year-old children being forced to carry a rapist's baby to term, it doesn't seem to be about protecting life.
No, it has been so co-opted that I know people who are pro-life who truly do want to prevent abortions, right? And if that is the case, we should be all about giving women access to more healthcare, not less. They should have more access to all of the birth control methods, to long-acting birth control, to the birth control pill, to over-the-counter birth control pills, right? All of those things can prevent abortion. We know this is true by theory and by data, right? But when we see Republicans try to ban birth control and ban access to that. We know it's not about abortion and it's not about saving those lives. And that's how extreme this movement has become, where it's not about preventing that abortion, right? If it was about preventing that abortion, we would see the Republicans be the first ones up there to say, let's give women more access to healthcare and more access to birth control. But we have never seen them say that.
What's the pushback like in your world? You host a phenomenally popular podcast about suburbia and women. Is there a reckoning coming for the extremist element that is taking over the Republican Party?
I think there is. I think at this point, we have enough data points from Kansas to Ohio to Kentucky and Michigan that people want reproductive freedom. That even the people who are very pro-life, and I know many of these too, say, you know what, I personally wouldn't have an abortion. It wouldn't be right for me, but I don't know that I have the right to tell someone else what's right for them. Right? Even people like that are saying, you know what? I want this decision to be mine. And even if the decision is to be pro-life, that should be my decision and not someone else's decision. We see the vast majority of people in even red states agree with that. So what I think we'll continue to see is very inflammatory statements like we see from Trump saying things like Democrats are trying to kill babies after they're born. We will continue to see those inflammatory statements to try and inflame a very tiny minority of this country.
What about the conservative argument reiterated by Donald Trump literally the day before Nevada upheld a pre-Civil War law, the refrain that we should just leave this up to the states. If you leave it up to the states, the people will have their say.
I think it's really cute. That's what I think we heard in Ohio from a lot of the GOP, that we should just leave it up to the states. And when our state decided resoundingly that we would like reproductive freedom, you see the GOP then in Ohio say, oh, no, we're going to do everything we can to try and undo what you just said. It's all about leaving it up to the states until the states and the people don't agree with them. And then suddenly it's not about leaving it up to the states. But the other thing I want to point out is we usually finish that sentence, leaving it up to the states, and there's a period, but leaving it up to the states to do what? Right? If we make people finish that sentence, we would like it to leave it up to the states to decide women's health care. We want to leave it to the states to decide what your right is. We want to leave it up to the states to make choices for you, right? When you finish that sentence, right, you realize this is really not popular to do whatever this is that you're talking about when we just leave it up to the states.
And we literally are entering a regime now where women are having to flee their own states to get health care. There are laws being contemplated to make that illegal. And just to parse that, to make travel for health care a criminal offense. I'm going to roll this ad right here, which seems like hyperbole, but this is the world we're about to live in.
We're almost there. You're gonna make it.
Trump Republicans want to criminalize young Alabama women who travel for reproductive care.
Miss, I'm gonna need you to step out of the vehicle, take a pregnancy test.
Stop them by taking action at righttotravel.org. Campaign for Democracy Group is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Amanda, would love final thoughts on where we are headed if we don't stand up to this extremism.
I mean, it seems like for decades that we have been saying how extreme this could be and where this can lead us to and how extreme, this road is that we're going down. And it has seemed like exaggeration for things like, oh, they're not going to restrict our movement. That is absolutely what they're going to do. And it seemed ridiculous. We've even heard J.D. Vance say things like, oh, no one's really trying to prevent birth control. And it turns out they all are trying to prevent birth control. That is absolutely what they're doing, right? We have to look at the actions they're taking and where this road leads us. We know it leads us down the road to extremism, and it leads us down the roads of having fewer freedoms in this country.
Thanks, as always, Amanda. Great to have you. Really appreciate your wisdom and your insights.
Thanks, Ken. Appreciate it.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Midas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.